All right.
Should I go press it again if the fan wants to still be going on that one?
Oh yeah, it'll clip off here in a
Oh,
moment.
okay.
Ah, the rooster's crowing too.
Nice.
Yes.
I like it.
Cool. Well, awesome. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Midwest Music Hour. I'm your host, Scott Kirby. We are live today from the Bertsch Barn with very special guests, Dianna Burgess and Curtis McMurtry. Really excited to have you guys in the barn today. Thanks so much for making the trek to the beautiful North Woods. Welcome to Rhinelander.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
You guys were down in Madison last night, so that was pretty sweet. And it was your birthday yesterday as
It
well,
was.
Curtis. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Quite a wild ride to be out on tour, celebrating your day of birth there in a place away from your own home. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a few tour birthdays, and last year I didn't think I was gonna get to have another one anytime soon. So it's thrilling.
Yeah. Well, how about we get into a song and then we'll come back and we'll chat more about how it is to be touring on your birthday.
Sounds great.
Cool, man.
This first one's called Foxhole. I saw you shining like a lighter in a foxhole, and without delay I put you in my sights. For many years I watched you dancing in my crosshairs, but I couldn't pull the trigger for my life. But then one day I got the stones to take your hand, dear, and I won you with a flower and a smile. Though all I had to offer was a fireplace and a face you learned to love after a while. One day I was called to serve my country, and I went because I'd never been away. And I returned home with a bandage on my forehead and a memory that gets weaker every day. Now you never touch me like you used to. My injuries don't even start to heal. And I was sure right then and there that I would lose you. Oh, how wretched your beauty makes me feel. And I used to think our love was but a trifle. I was surprised it lasted through the month of May. But now I am too old to lift my rifle. You're still here to watch me waste away. My love, I've lost so many friends since we got married. And I know that you could say the same to me. I believe I was the first to ever catch you. Perhaps I should be the first to set you free. I saw you shining like the sunlight through the window, and the truth had started slowly sinking in. And I knew when I walked out the door this morning, I I would never see your pretty face again. So don't go searching for my body in the cattails. Just be happy that I've found a place to rest. By the time you read this letter, I'll be gone, dear. You know I love you, but this is for the best. You know I love you, but this is for the best.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful tune.
Thank you.
And you wanna? Can we talk about it?
Sure.
You want to?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Where should we begin?
Well, I wrote that song in 2011, so 10 years ago now. No, I wrote it in 2012, 9 years ago. And I'd recently read an article about how in 2011, for the first time in this country, suicides among veterans had outpaced combat deaths. And I didn't consciously try and write a song about that. That's not usually how my songwriting style works, but sort of as I was building the verses, the ending became inevitable. So, but it was definitely, I'd read the article fairly recently before writing the song.
And I imagine you've had all sorts of people probably approach you about the content of that, and you know, tackling an issue that, you know, that's reaches and affects so many different people. It's a unique, probably a unique position to be in some ways. But as is the songwriter, right? You know, storytellers and whatnot. But
Yeah, I mean, my goal is always to try and get people to feel something, or as a most basic goal. And I've been fortunate that people seem to feel something after hearing that one. So
sure. Yeah, and maybe not necessarily always trying to choose how people are going to feel, you know, because obviously some people, you know, they've been touched deeply by that, and maybe some, you know, somebody that they knew, so, you know, loss and whatnot, and all sorts of other feelings, I imagine. Yeah.
that one can elicit some convoluted emotions, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm comfortable with that. I think.
Right on. It takes a certain amount of courage, you know, to write stuff like that and put it out there. So.
If you say so.
Austin, Texas.
Yeah. We're both born and
You're
raised
both from
there.
Austin, Texas. And it's, you guys have not been this far north in a while, obviously. But this is your first time in Rhinelander.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting us.
It's very pretty up here. There are actual fall colors, which we are just amazed at, being from Texas.
Yeah.
Yep. The leaves turn a duller green in Texas.
And then just die.
And then just fall off the trees, if they fall off the trees. Sometimes they stick around a few years.
Wow. That's wild. It's got a rich music scene, though, Austin, Texas, obviously famous for lots of things. How is that to be in that place? Do you guys feel like, is there it's so bad, you know, but you know, is there something to be, is there like is there a way that all you Austin musicians know, like you've come across somebody from Austin? Like you guys all have like this Austin insider thing? Like, oh, you guys are from Austin too. Oh yeah, we got that going on.
There's some insider things maybe, but I think it's like being from anywhere where you meet someone else from Austin and you're nostalgic for the same food.
Yeah.
It's I'm not sure there's a distinctive musician.
Yeah, and kind of
Inside
these days it's harder to find people in Austin who are from Austin. You know, most people are like, oh yeah, I'm an Austinite, and they've been there for maybe 10 years, and then they hear that we were actually born here, and they're like, oh, okay.
But the flip side to that, though, is that sometimes I will complain a little bit about how Austin's changed. I just had a birthday. I'm old now. But usually when I complain in Austin about how it's changed, I'm within earshot of someone who was there in the 70s. And so my parents moving there at the end of the 80s and my being born there in the 90s, like, I was the change that messed it up for them. So it's made me reconsider my curmudgeonness about it.
Dianna, you're an instructor, you're an educator, you teach?
Yeah, I help run a songwriting camp.
Cool.
Yeah.
How is it being like do you guys do a lot of like gigs that are local to Austin then outside of that? Or do you find that, you're maybe more out on the road, and then when you're home, you're doing lessons, teaching camp and writing and composing and that whole thing? Is your home life kind of your home life, and then touring is where you do a lot of gigs? Or do you find that you got a lot of gig opportunities there in Austin as well?
Yeah, there's a lot in Austin, and I'm lucky as a cellist. There's a lot of different things I can do. I've got a regular church band gig, and I play weddings and fill in with other songwriters, and lots of different things. And I play with Curtis fairly often in town also. Getting to tour is really special though. Definitely very lucky to do that. And my first touring experiences were with my other band, Mother Falcon, which were a very different tour experience than traveling with Curtis. Like as different as you could imagine.
On smaller scale.
Yeah, Mother Falcon is a 12 to 15 person band.
Oh yeah.
So my introduction to touring is not like anybody has experienced. So it's kind of funny for that to be my understanding of touring. Like in my early 20s, I was like, okay, cool. So this is what it's like. Yeah. Yep.
Right on. Yeah, it's a big bus or something like that.
No.
Or no. Just
Two little vans.
vans.
That's
sweet though.
I thought a good kind of motto for how we toured was just always touching. You're always touching somebody or an instrument, or it's just very crammed. But when you're in your early 20s, it's just so exciting, and you don't think about how uncomfortable you are. So
That reminds me of a documentary I saw, From Austin to Boston. Are you familiar with that? I think Nathaniel Rateliff was one of the artists that was in that, but it was a tour. They all went out in VW Vanagons or something like that, and they had their little convoy and whatnot. And
nice.
so they did a string, but yeah.
I feel like I might remember that. Did Lagunitas Brewing sponsor that, possibly?
Possibly, sure.
I know they used to sponsor a lot of trips down to Austin for South by Southwest.
Sure. Oh yeah, of
Nice.
course, the big music festival that you guys got down there. But
It's gotten smaller in the last 2 years, I promise you.
oh sure. Wow. Well, you both have albums that you've released recently. They're going to find those on your websites respectively, Curtis McMurtry music.com and Dianne BurgessMusic.com, right? If you're watching the live stream, you can find the links to that in the description. Do you got a song, either one of you, off those new recordings that maybe you'd like to share?
Let's do the title track off of Diana's.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
this one is called You Run. It's one of the older ones. My album, I took a long time making it. It's kind of the last 6 years writing and recording these songs between everything else, between touring with other people and going to college, all those other things. So I kind of had put this on the back burner, and just before the pandemic, I was like, okay, I really need to wrap this up, get it recorded, get it out there. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh gosh, well, should I even release music? But, why not? And I had been sitting on it for so long anyway, so it was just time to get it out there. So definitely kind of a funny time to release music, but it's nice now to actually get to promote it and everything, even if it's a year later. But who's counting? What is time anymore?
That's right. Some people are just hearing the Beatles for the first time,
I should
Probably not, but
I should point out now that if you do go and listen to Dianna's album, she plays every instrument and sings every harmony on it herself. It's a one-woman chamber orchestra.
Awesome.
I recommend it.
Cool. Yeah. So this one's called "You Run." You run like sand between fingers. Your voice slaps cold against my cheek, and I clench my fist, ready to swing. But I see that you're too weak. I bite back my breath. You're not worth the air. I swallow my pride like a key. I'll light the match and walk away. I'll let you burn and I'll sleep well. You think that you know me so well. We do what we must, dear. You never can tell. You reach to the insides, but that wasn't me. Found a new creature, let's bury it deep. I still can't look you in the eyes without grinding my teeth. Thank you.
You probably guys get a lot of like there's some juxtaposition with the music and the words and whatnot. The balance there, right? Sometimes you get a happy melody and the subject matter is a little maybe otherwise.
Mm-hmm. We both find it hard to write happy songs. They just, I don't know. Some people can do it so well, but I feel like whenever I try, and I know Curtis has said this too, that it just comes out so cheesy, and it's just not worth it for us.
It's interesting to me how much easier it is to bottle spite and hang on to those feelings and write a song with them. But hanging on to a feeling of contentment or satisfaction and putting that to music is so much harder for me. I don't know why I lose interest.
One of the many mysteries of the universe, yes. Oh, well, I'm sure it's all been kind of strange, but you've been touring for a number of years now. This is not like your first tour, right?
No, I've lost count, thankfully. I think I started doing some touring my junior year of college, which would have been 2011, 2012. Those were my first experiences driving from state to state and playing different shows there. So I'll count it, even though I like to think I've gotten a little better at it since then. But the basic premise is the same.
Sure.
So
Any, I guess I always like say, is there something like an experience that sticks out? Like, oh man, we're not doing that again, or like we had such a cool time. I'm sure there's probably a combination of all those. Anything?
yes, I'll just say I've learned to appreciate the variety of experiences.
Very.
It's a very diplomatic way of saying
The
it's
path
a-
of diplomacy.
It's nice to not have to go to the same place every day. So even when there are occasionally places don't intend to go back to, I'm grateful for the experience and the story later.
For sure. And how about you, Diana?
Yeah.
Similar
I
boat?
think, yeah, definitely same. And yeah, again, touring with Curtis is so different than my first few years of touring experience. So, but yeah, definitely have learned to appreciate any touring experience because there are so many good stories.
Right on.
And, a year and a half of not having the option, I appreciate it more than ever now.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely. Well, and people all over that you're playing for also, they've been in that same boat. Where's my live music, and
Sure.
and super appreciative to have you here and playing for them wherever you may be doing that, right? Is there any subject matter that you don't go after as a rule of thumb, or are you tend to write whatever kind of inspires or is inspired at the moment?
So I'll let Diana answer this after I do because we have different approaches.
Sure.
But my method for songwriting is to write every day, which takes the pressure off of everything needing to be good. I expect most of what I write to be garbage, and then I get to sift through that. It's kind of, I call it a distillery process because it all starts in one raw Word document that's thousands of pages long, and every month or 6 weeks or so I comb through what I've written there, and that the stuff that is maybe okay goes into a next Word document, and then I comb through that, and the stuff that's a little better goes into another one. And there's 5 different filters, really, and by the end of it, I've got to the lines that I really want to sing in front of an audience, the ones that don't make me cringe at all, and most importantly, that I can hear a character already from the lines, and then I sort of sift through those lines and try and find the same character talking. And from there, it's pretty easy to sew a song together. And a lot of lines imply a melody to start with anyway, so usually one line I can kind of usually know roughly how I might sing it, which gives me a place to start. So I never really have to sit in front of a blank page and try and come up with a song. I can see what I've been thinking about the last 4 to 6 weeks, and the material will sort of present itself in that way.
Right, that's so cool.
But Diana, a little differently, I think.
Yeah, I have tried to write like Curtis has before because it's so inspiring, and I just can't. I am not that disciplined. I can't do anything every single day except for eat. But oh gosh, I don't know. I tend to write just kind of when I'm in certain moods, and it's usually when things aren't great. So that's typically where my lyrics come from, or those kind of down places. Writing music definitely comes easier to me. Just having played cello for so much of my life, there's a lot of musical ideas that kind of just come out, and I typically record them on a voice memo on my phone, just to have different bits of musical ideas that I can later put to different bits of words that I find. But yeah, nothing that complicated.
Right on. Yeah. Well, obviously, some people talk about writer's block, but that's doesn't seem to be maybe an issue with your method there, Curtis.
I developed it partly to counter that because I read a interview with Leonard Cohen where someone asked him about what it was like to write songs while he got older, and he said, "Okay, so imagine you're a cobbler and you're working and you're making shoes and you work in the back, and you're getting older, but people don't really know that. They just know that the shoes they're still good, but meanwhile." In the back of the shop, you've lost an arm and a leg, and you're having to contort yourself in ways you never had to before to try and reach the same result. And he said, writing songs as I get older and as I've written so many songs is like that, where I'm constantly fighting myself to try and make something that I think was as good as what I wrote 40 years ago. And that terrified me. So I thought, one, this would be the method I came to now would be a way to have a pretty substantial inventory of lyrics that I could draw from, so that if I got to a place where I felt uninspired, I'd at least have a good amount in reserve from maybe a decade before or more, and maybe it would still hold up. But also, yeah, I hate the idea of sitting down and finding I have nothing to say, so this is easier.
Now, of course, like as an artist and as a creative person, you kind of have your own fire that you stoke, right? That internal need to create. But is any of that like focused on like a specific, like say quota? I personally like want to set a goal for myself to complete X amount of songs maybe in a year, or I want to release an album every year, and in order to do that, X amount of songs have to be written. Is that like something self-imposed, or are you working with timelines that are kind of that making?
Curtis has his next 5 years
You
planned
got-
out.
Oh wow, yeah, that's cool.
I was gonna say it's project specific, but I think this vocal might be a little hot. I'm not sure. You can hear it popping. But yeah, the next the next 5 years are sort of laid out for me, because my next 4 albums that I intend to release are tied together fairly explicitly. So hopefully they'll come out one a year starting in the spring of 2023.
Wow,
We'll see how it goes.
that's awesome. And Dianna, you on your own
Oh gosh, I don't
kind
know.
of creative
No, you've
path
got
in
a
that regard?
project.
I
you're
do have a
working on
project.
currently.
Yeah, I one of my ultimate dreams would be to be able to write music for film and TV. We're both really interested in scoring, and I have some experience of that with different projects with my band Mother Falcon, and those always have been really rewarding experiences. I love writing music that go to different visuals. But I'm working on an album of all instrumental pieces inspired by different North American animals. Huge animal lover, so it's kind of a combination of my two loves. So that's slowly in the works. It's happening, yeah.
Sweet.
That's great. It's some of the themes that Diana's been developing remind me of Prokofiev, about the Peter and the Wolf themes a little bit,
Right on.
but more modern.
That's fantastic. It's like I was just sitting down with a friend who was doing some Halloween stuff, some creative writing and storytelling, and trying to uncover the early tales of what was the tradition back in Ireland, and or this or
Cool.
that, and so composing things like about a banshee and whatnot, and like the legend of candy corn,
Nice.
So yeah, Ed and Cheryl have some kind of cool creative stuff going on. Obviously, that's why the background looks a little Halloween-esque here.
I love it.
You guys have a favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Halloween is Halloween. your
By
favorite?
far.
There's no.
Yep. We have some pretty ambitious house decorating ideas that
Oh,
have
yeah?
not really come to fruition. But we're gonna, it's hard.
We tried.
We tried. But we're gonna be back home with about a week before Halloween, and I'm just gonna go all in once we're home.
We built some large spiders out of trash bags and paper and coat hangers, and we attached them to the front of the house, and we were very proud. And then 2 nights later, we had sort of a freak thunderstorm, and our spiders didn't make it through.
Oh no.
We're gonna have to build more resilient spiders, I think.
Do you have a favorite musician?
Oh, on the spot, I'll just have to say Fiona Apple. But
Sweet.
that's, I want to try and cram 100 more into that space. I
Yeah.
feel, but
It-
she's the first.
I mean, yeah, also Fiona Apple. We both also really love Rufus Wainwright. Yeah.
I'm a huge Tom Waits fan. He's very Halloween-y.
Yeah.
We've both been fairly obsessed with Anderson .Paak and Lil Nas X in the last year. Well,
Right.
more than Lil Nas X in the last year, certainly Anderson .Paak for the last few. But yeah, there's just so much amazing music happening right now, and I also listen to a ton of music from the 1930s and 40s. So I don't know. There's no real way to choose. I don't think.
I grew up almost exclusively on a classic rock British invasion diet. I missed like all kind of 90s and early 2000s music because I was really just listening to the Beatles because my dad is in a Beatles cover band and has been literally my entire life. So that's been a very big part of my musical upbringing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We've had a group or two like that in the area here. I think they even called themselves the British Invasion.
Nice.
Oh,
My dad's band is called the Eggmen.
The Eggmen.
Mhm.
No way. Wow. That's
Her dad's
awesome.
the walrus.
Yeah, he's John.
Ooh, can we narrow it? Oh, I was gonna say, so taking that and on the tour, like, so who gets to control the radio? In the car, is there like a traveling playlist? Is it kind of random? Do you take turns?
That's so we try not to play it off our phones and ruin our data plans. So I still have an iPod that we do, and it's I forget how many thousands of songs and albums I have on there, but when I'm driving, and if Dianna might maybe fall asleep, then it's just on shuffle album. And then the game is to listen to something that will keep me awake but not wake Dianna up. So there's a spectrum in there.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of Bulgarian choirs recently,
Get
the
out.
last few
No
days.
way.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, traditional like Bulgarian like choirs, like
Some traditional, but then a lot of just Soviet era. So it's like the Bulgarian harmonies somewhat, but kind of Russianized, if that makes sense. Generally more members in the choir, not your standard 3-part, and less of the sort of crying out motion. It's just a little. It's closer to like a German choral piece, but
wow.
it has
Curtis studied ethnomusicology in college, if you didn't pick up on that.
anyway, but
Cool.
yeah, those have been a good combination of stimulating for me to listen to, but not too jarring to wake up a sleeping person.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What a balancing act that must be, cruising down the highway, man. Well, hey, how about another song?
This next one's called Wrong Inflection. It's our spite pop song. Let me confess this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be aggressive, but when you hold my hand, you look so
because I'm hiding nothing. You tell me everything, you still don't trust me. Am I so easy to despise? Sometimes you say the right words with the wrong inflection. So now I'm unimpressed by yesterday's perfection. It's hard to love myself with someone else around. So though you make me weak, I won't let my defenses down. I stay on my guard, 'cause every time we fight you push me too far. Stop insisting that I take things too hard. You know I bruise just like a peach. Love, that's not true. Don't pretend to know the pain I've been through. When everything you had was handed to you, you never even had to reach. Sometimes you say the right words with the wrong inflection. So now I'm unimpressed by yesterday's perfection. Don't sweep me off my feet, I like it on the ground. So though you talk so sweet, I won't let my defenses down.
Sweet. I was having a conversation the other day with Alex Wilson, who's a blues player from Milwaukee, and I was just talking about how, you know, music, it's obviously it's kind of an open format or whatever, but you know, specifically dealing with the blues, I was saying, oh man, I'm doing a blues tune, and I feel as though like here's the standard like 1-4-5 or whatever 12 bar. Like, how do you do something, make it your own, and not sound like something else? Maybe sometimes you want to sound like something else, but you still gotta maintain like that originality and whatever. And so like a song like that, it's like those little riffs, the little melody lines in there. It's you know, it's like it's always something interesting, right? There's repetition, obviously, but you know, how, maybe it comes from is that a chicken? Like, like
It was a
I
blues
love
note.
it. Blues
so what are they
chicken.
doing out there? No, there's just a really amazing level of originality with these compositions that we're hearing today, and
Thanks so much.
you know, obviously maybe having studied all sorts of different types of music has really helped shape that for you, being able to, you know, not only identify what has been done, but where are those little pockets of nuance that I can, you know, carve out my own little space in there.
Partly. And then sometimes I'm trying to imitate something and I just miss the mark.
Oh.
That's end up with originality when I meant to be a clone.
Sure. Is that what? Well, is that particularly true of that song?
Maybe not quite. So that one, some of those little squiggly licks in there are definitely me shooting to play a little like Mark Rebo and Miss.
Okay.
So there's some of that, and then I was also for that one very much inspired by a band called SAP, PSAPP. They call themselves a Toytronica duo. They were one of the fortunate bands that broke around 2006 when iTunes was at its apex, and they ended up getting the theme song for Grey's Anatomy, and now they live in a castle and don't need to, like, actually literally live in a
is
castle
the dream.
and no longer need to release albums. Sometimes they do when they feel like it, but it's been ages.
Whoa.
Anyway, they have a really delightfully sophisticated sound, and it's a lot of it's samples, a lot of it's toy instruments. A lot of it's cello, a lot of it's guitar. And I was trying to condense some of what they did into just guitar work. And so, again, I tried to imitate something and missed.
Well, you ended up with something that was very cool and uniquely yours, and pretty awesome piece of music there.
Well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Should we do another one of yours?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to do one without me getting in the way? That might be best.
Sure.
Let's do that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just going to come up there and grab a cable and get this device plugged in so I don't lose control.
Okay.
It'll just be a second you find it.
Oh, I'm not. I'll look this way.
Oh, fancy.
Technology stuff, you know, if you pop off the DAW, then it goes into like steps recording, and but you might have to close out there to like make an adjustment.
Sure.
All right, yeah, Dianna, what can you tell us about this next song?
Yeah, this is also one of the older songs that I have. I kind of recorded part of it before a lot of the album. And I guess I wrote it on, or most of it on the first tour that I did with Mother Falcon back in 2013. And I was feeling quite lonely, as sometimes you feel on tour. But I wouldn't say that my songs are about anything in particular or even one thing. A lot of it's just kind of comes out of a feeling or several feelings. So, yeah. You can interpret it however you'd like. It's called Siren. You pour a cup into my hands, let the light fill the room. The air fills our lungs, been a while since we've breathed. Tilt your face to see mine. Can you tell something's changed? The time you threw away lies broken, draining slowly. You say you've seen these stars before, all mine have been hidden. Did I drop them off along the way, or is light slowly fading? Street sounds so loud when you're trying to take it in. And remember the sound of your siren.
Uh, when you were both growing up, was there a moment that hit you that you were like, "Yep, I gotta do music."
I think for both of us, I don't know if either of us really considered other options.
Mm-mm.
I think we,
With both having parent musicians, it was always just kind of a thing, and I think somewhat expected, at least for me. Not like in a pressure way, but my parents thankfully had me start cello when I was 5. At that age, I was like, okay, I'll do the thing. You know, it's kind of just, it's not like you. I wish I had a story of like, I saw a cellist perform and I was so inspired, but it's kind of just like, parents signed me up for lessons. I was like, cool, I guess I do this now. And it was just such a big part of my life growing up. And I met so many of my friends doing that and just had so many great experiences. So it's like it was such a positive aspect of my life that I think in later high school, I had, done pretty well at different classical competitions and such. And so when I was thinking about college, I was like, well, I don't know what else I would do. So I like playing cello enough, so I'll do that. It doesn't sound very inspiring, but it was kind of just like such a normal thing for me at that point. I was like, okay, I spent all this time on this thing, so might as well, try to get a little better at it and see where that takes me.
the
Right
way
on.
I often describe it is, I have a lot of friends who their parents are doctors or their parents are engineers, and they've followed in those footsteps because that was the life that was familiar to them. And I feel that that's what music has been like for Dianna and I, where we saw that modeled. We didn't see working in an office or a hospital modeled really, and so um, we
Yeah.
just went to what felt the most natural.
The amount of green rooms that I fell asleep in as a child is just, I
Exactly.
think that's maybe why I'm such a heavy sleeper now, is like I could sleep through anything because it's just like, oh, I'm at my dad's gig and I'm sleepy because I'm like 5 years old. So just, very normal.
That's very cool. Um, I was I was reading that Curtis, you had gone to Nashville for a bit and you got to study with Guy Clark.
Yeah.
Um, and when I say study, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Um, Obviously, it must have been a really cool experience. He's national treasure.
Definitely.
Great music and everything. A friend of mine, Barb, has like she loves Watermelon Dream. You familiar with that one?
Hmm.
Okay, cool, sweet. She's gonna say, "Oh yeah, I like that one too." Obviously, but anyway, what you want to talk briefly about that, or what that means in terms of like studying with Guy Clark, like hanging out in a studio, like
It was all at his home. Um, he like I of course I feel very special that I got to have that time with him, but he would do that with lots of people. Like I was one of hundreds of co-writes Guy did in the year and a half that I was around him. He was still just having multiple people over most days to write songs. So, as thrilled as I was to get to be around him and get to know him and make some songs with him, for him it was business as usual. He wasn't, he didn't think anything of it. He was trying to write as many songs as possible. And even when I knew him, which was 2013, 2014, um, he still in his head was like, it would be great to write a hit. Like even now, he didn't like the sound of Nashville country at the time, but he wasn't opposed to the idea of making money off it either. So, but I usually would try and write with him whatever I thought he would get excited about, which was pretty much never what was happening on country radio at the time. So, what we wrote together was always fairly dark and, you know, um, a little creepy. We wrote one song about Lady Macbeth, or from Lady Macbeth's perspective, and Guy was very excited about that one. And
wow.
that's, yeah, I'll take that with me forever, having Guy Clark be excited about a song we wrote.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Should we do another one of yours, Diana?
Yeah.
Let's do. This is pretty Halloweeny too.
Oh,
That's true. It's called Beast.
beast. Sweet.
This is the, I guess, first track off of my album. Cool. War against me, dear. Drink my fire, starve me still, dimming the light. To feel our scars up close. You're burning now. It's so sweet how you lie waiting for a blind angel to take your hand. It's a long way to fall if you're looking up, but you found some peace. Down to a place while you feed your beast. You've learned to love this kind of sadness, torn between rage and calm. The battle holds you in a place without fear. The scent lingers, your hands shake, your eyes say nothing I haven't heard before. It's a long way to fall.
Nice. Thanks very much. Wow, real treat to have you guys here at the Bertsch Barn and up north Rhinelander here for a couple of days. Got maybe time for one more, if you're up for it.
Definitely.
And we'll be back here tomorrow night doing a live stream at 7 p.m. for anybody who's enjoying and wants to catch a little more music. Be sure to check back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And wow, and if you're elsewhere, you can catch these guys on tour.
We'll be at Fitzgerald's in Berwyn, Illinois, on Thursday night.
It's outside of Chicago.
Tell your friends. And then Livonia, Michigan, the night after that at Trinity House Theater. And then Spring Lake, Michigan, Saturday night at Pin Drop Concerts.
Sweet. Favorite color?
Blue.
Green.
Blue-green.
We're
That's-
cool people.
It's like the wall back there. There's blue and green. Favorite beverage?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Black, black or with sugar and cream?
Black.
Black.
Dianna used to prefer with milk, and I've converted her.
It's true. I've been converted.
Victory.
What excites you about the future of music?
Everything. I guess just all the different shapes and hybrids that are to come. Like, just every day something beautiful is born in music.
You guys have a very unadulterated approach with the instruments, and in terms of this presentation tonight, effects pedals, blah blah blah, studio tricks, wizardry, midis, digital electronics, stuff like that. Is that in your future, in your past, musically?
Both, maybe.
I'm just not that good with technology.
It's-
I don't know. I'm not that inclined. Like it's hard for me to. I have such a learning curve, I think. So I think that's why I haven't gotten into more loop pedals and synths and different things like that. And honestly, playing cello is hard enough. So I'm like, okay, I just need to focus on that right now.
For me, it's kind of project specific, where if I'm working on something and it needs synths, then I'm excited to use synths. Haven't gone that direction for quite some time, but a lot of synth music excites me, so it could be great.
A dance club album.
But frequently, I'll opt for pedal steel where a synth might go in the mix. That's an instrument I still think has been left unexplored in many contexts, and so I reach for that first, or rather reach for someone else that can play that.
There are not many people.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you got here with the song selection?
We'll smash two together. The first piece is called 1:27:17, and we'll follow that immediately with a song called The Cavalry Is Here. Both of these are on my most recent release, Toothless Messiah, which came out in February of this year, 2021.
Awesome.
How are you adjusting to the new regime? I find that I crave blood. I think it might be worth the scars you say it's not. There are lines we never cross, no matter who's in charge, or so you thought. And are you still resigned to least resistance while our opponents do their worst, embrace divisions and incisions that can never be reversed while we still have our teeth? I pray we find the strength to bite, for I find I have lost hope, but not the will to fight. How are you adjusting to the new regime? Cavalry is here. They have already surrendered. We turn against ourselves, divided by defeat. And all that we have built, it will not be remembered. We will fall together now, the wretched and the weak. First we were too proud, too slow to notice. They covered up the sun, still we waited for the dawn. And I still hear your voice like a swarm of locusts, telling us to compromise till everything was gone. turning back the clock. It's like bargaining with cancer, blinded by belief. You took the devil at his word. Don't bother with your prayers. Can't you see they have been answered? Every now and then we catch the hell that we deserve. Yes, every now and then we catch the hell that we deserve.
Awesome. Curtis McMurtry, Dianna Burgess, thank you so much for being here today and
so much for having
sharing your
us.
music and
Yes.
a little bit about it, and all the other silly things that you've allowed me
Well,
to talk to you about.
Thanks so much for inviting us.
Yeah, this is wonderful. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, look forward to the session tomorrow night, and be sure to hop on the websites and check out the new music that's out there, and supporting these artists is really important. We certainly appreciate all of that. So be good to one another, be good to yourselves, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the next program.